The Lakers play to see another postseason. The Lakers beat the Rockets at the Staples Center 99-95 in overtime, securing the 7th seed. Kobe Bryant tweeted after the game, "Playoff promise fulfilled, hashtag on to the next." Stephen A. Smith, on a scale of 1 to 10, how impressed were you by the Lakers' win?
Well, I'm impressed from the standpoint that Pau Gasol has just been sensational over the last week or so. What he's been able to do has just reminded everybody of as to why he's considered one of the more versatile big men in the game, how he's somebody that you can utilize and how the kind of ingredients to his game contribute to success. And he deserves a lot of credit for that. Mike D'Antoni deserves a lot of credit, even though he was left no other choice. The bottom line is he's just been feeding the ball to the big boys, and he's been doing what he's doing. 40-32 record as head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. He deserves some credit for that. Dwight Howard, even though he struggled miserably, and I hope that he's working on his post game in the postseason. In the off season, there is no doubt that he's legit in terms of his presence defensively as it pertains to rebounding and blocking shots and all of that stuff. All of those things were impressive. But when you look at the fact that the projected starting lineup coming into this season, Steve Nash, Metta World Peace, Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, Dwight Howard have played together as a unit a combined 7 times this year. That's all. And you're still sitting in this position. The reality is that Laker Nation and Laker fans have a reason to feel somewhat euphoric because they've been decimated by injuries this year. Let's just call it like it is. We pointed out a lot of the ailments, a lot of the problems that exist. There's no doubt. But they overcame a lot. And basically they lived up to what, Skip, you and I said they would. They're in the postseason, which is what we both predicted.
So it sounds like Mr. Smith not yet on Laker bandwagon, right?
What do you mean on the Lakers? I said that I've said all season long they would make the postseason and they would go home in the first round. And I still say that.
Okay, so off last night's game, your impressed scale would be what, a 5 maybe from what they did last night?
No, I'll give them more of a 7 or 8. I'm just proud of them for making the playoffs, closing the season, winning 5 straight, doing the things that they've done. That's all. I give them credit where it's due. But I predicted they would do it, so I'm not surprised. Just like I'm predicting they'll go home in the first round.
Okay, well, Mr. Positive here is going to put a big positive spin on the Lakers today. On the impress scale, I'm going to go all the way up to a 9 off what I saw last night, just because I'm trying to get back on Kerry's good side here.
You've always been on my good side.
Stephen A., let me start by saying I was surprised and disappointed in how poorly the Houston Rockets played last night at Staples. They managed, especially in the fourth quarter, they managed 19 points. And those 19 included that line drive. How did that go in? 3-point shot by Chandler Parsons, one of your favorite players, that sent the game to overtime. I don't know how the ball went in because he shot it so flat, but it went in. And again, that got him to 19 points in the fourth quarter. Well, do I blame them or should we now credit what's called defense played by the LA Lakers? I don't know, Stephen A. I'm seeing defense on the part of these guys. I saw Dwight Howard start to resemble the defensive player of the year that he used to be. I saw last night Dwight Howard sensationally defend James Harden on the pick and roll and just take him out of the game. He just said to James Harden, "Sorry, young man, you cannot drive this lane tonight because I own this lane." Dwight had 4 more blocks, and he must have altered, 6 or 8 other shots, many of them attempts by James Harden down the lane. That was impressive to me, as was this, Stephen A. Without Steve Nash, Kerry's Lakers have discovered a point guard. Mm-hmm. It's this guy named Gasol. I don't know who he is. He's some guy who used to play for the Lakers a long time ago, before D'Antoni came. Stephen A., Pau Gasol is the new point guard. The offense starts to click when it goes through Pau because he can flat out get the ball to his postmate, to Dwight. He can get it to him in very advantageous positions, and he can feed those snipers all over that 3-point arc. He can throw cross-court skip passes, and all. They took 32 threes last night, but they did make 10 of them. Steve Blake made 4. And Steve Blake, Stephen A., I'm sorry, he's a pretty proven, tough, clutch competitor. Not saying he's a great player.
He hits big shots.
Yeah, he hits big shots. He ain't afraid. He won't be afraid going into the first round of the playoffs. So I'm sitting back thinking, the Lakers just won 5 straight games, the last 3 against 3 playoff teams, and they just won 8 of 9 games to finish the season. So speaking of 9, I'm going up to 9 on my impress scale. I'm sorry. I like what I'm seeing from these guys, even without the great Kobe Bryant.
Well, you got to remember, I told you last week sometime that to me, the game to watch was Golden State, because I felt like if the last 3 games with the Lakers hosting San Antonio, particularly last 2, the Lakers hosting San Antonio and then hosting Houston after 2 nights off, you know, with a playoff berth on the line at the Staples Center, I thought they would get it done. I thought the wild card was Golden State because of Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, their ability to hit perimeter shots and how Stephen Curry could get hot, and all bets would be off. And obviously I picked them to win that game as well. But I'm just telling you, you know, if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, again, you've got to be pleased more so than for anyone else. You've got to be pleased for Pau Gasol. This is a dude that was benched, Mike D'Antoni's 3rd game on the job. He's been the subject of trade rumors. He's been thrown out there how because of D'Antoni, because of the way that he likes to coach and likes schemes to be, that Pau Gasol doesn't fit, and ultimately he was the viable tradable commodity that the Lakers had, all of this other stuff. And most of us were sitting here saying, you're 7 feet tall. Dwight Howard, even though he's the best big man in the game, is 6'9.5" with his shoes off. Pau Gasol is a legitimate 7-footer. You need that guy alongside a Dwight Howard so you can truly be big as opposed to being a miniature squad. And it just seemed like the Lakers weren't hearing anybody on that front, particularly D'Antoni. Pau Gasol's days seem to be numbered. And now that you've had to depend on him, that Kobe Bryant was one of the people insisting that Pau Gasol be depended upon. Remember, he spoke up for Pau Gasol midway through the season. All of a sudden, you've seen Pau Gasol being more of a focal point, and as a result, the Lakers reaping the benefits from it. Now, in the case of James Harden, he just had a bad night. 8 of 25 shooting from the field, held onto the ball entirely too long, too many times, and clearly was impeded by Dwight Howard's presence down low defensively. So, but he's James Harden. He's still a stud, but he's got himself in a situation now where he's got to go up against Oklahoma City, and that's not going to work well for him.
Stephen A. Skip, I don't know if you pointed this out. Pau Gasol, 17 points, 20 rebounds,
and
11
assists. Wow.
I mean,
the point center got 11 assists last night.
Center.
I like it.
Center. I like it a lot.
Okay, one quick negative, Stephen A. And this is right in your wheelhouse. It's ironic and amusing to me that I still think this team, even without Kobe, is winning in spite of that head coach that you haven't been a big fan of. Even last night, late in the game, when Chandler Parsons finally did tie it, Lakers did have a foul to give. We're going to discuss Kobe's tweet a little later in the show because he tweeted immediately, what's up with that? I'm paraphrasing, but they did have a foul to give that they did not give. It was a mad scramble. Maybe you can blame the guys on the floor, but you know what? The more I watched D'Antoni, Stephen A., got a lot of pub off his 7 seconds or less offense in Phoenix. He built his mystique. As you have pointed out, that mystique he parlayed into getting the job with the Knicks. And then somehow he parlayed it again into getting the job with the Lakers. I'm not sure he's a very good basketball coach. You always say he's an offensive guru. Okay, I'll give you that, although I don't even see that in L.A. I'm just not sure he's a very good coach.
Interesting.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No, Skip. Let me be clear. I'm smiling because, when you're prophetic, what is there for me to say?
Okay, but you always
you're
preface.
Right. I'm saying
you always preface by saying he's a really good coach and he knows his basketball. I'm not sure about that.
Let me say this to you. No, I don't think. Listen, here's what I'm saying. He deserves credit for revolutionizing the NBA from the standpoint of really upping the tempo and really changing the tenor of things. What he did in Phoenix, to some degree, are what a lot of teams try to mirror and emulate to the point where offense becomes more of a focal point than it had been in recent memory, which is obviously incredibly pleasing to the NBA. So in that regard, I never hesitate to give him credit. But as it pertains to some of the intricacies of coaching, particularly in in-game situations, what you just pointed out, you're right on the money. My attitude is, why do I need to add to that? My man Skip Bayless just called it out there. I'm very proud of you.
All right,
I'm very proud of you. I have nothing to say.
Lakers top brass would definitely disagree with you guys, but we'll discuss that later in the show.
Yes, we will.
The